Yes guys, and welcome to another video. Now, as you can tell by the title, there is a lot of things to get through, a lot of transfer news, incomings, outgoings. The retain list has just been announced as of this morning as well, and there's just a lot to get through. I don't even know whether I'm going to be able to fit it into the title. But first and foremost, before we do get into it, if you hit the like button on the video, it's massively appreciated. If you're new to the channel, or at least you're watching the content and you're not already, if you hit the subscribe button, it'd be so appreciated. Or even if you've just discovered me for the first time in this video, if you hit the subscribe button, it'd be so appreciated. We're so close to 17,000 subscribers. It'd be an amazing target to hit. It really will be so appreciated. It'd put a smile on my face. But getting into it, apologies if this is going to come across a little bit rushed, because like I said, there are so many things, and if I go into too much depth to each thing, we're going to be here for 25 minutes, and I'm sure you guys don't want to listen to me blabber on for 25 minutes. But firstly, this man here, it has been confirmed. We knew it was going to happen anyway, but it's brilliant confirmation to see anyway. Enzo Le Fée has signed with the club on a permanent deal now, on a permanent basis, on a 4-year deal for what is an undisclosed fee, although it is believed to be anywhere between sort of like 19, 20, maybe 21.5 million, something around that, which of course finally breaks a horrible transfer record, which originally lay with Didier and Dong, one of the worst players ever to don a Sunderland shirt, but there we go. But now it's a duck off our back, and it's a monkey off our back that we just really wanted to get rid of, because seeing him as our transfer record for so long was excruciating to see. But Enzo Le Fée, in short, fantastic player. When he first come to us, we sort of shoehorned him out on that left-hand side. We've known him as a central midfielder or as a number 10, but he played on the left-hand side. I remember when he played against Sheffield United, he was absolutely outstanding. He ran them ragged. He just looked at 2 or 3 levels above everyone else on that pitch, including our own players. He was just such a standard above, and he just kept on getting better and better from there. He looked a real special talent. However, it did slowly become very obvious that he isn't a left winger, but he was still doing a job there, but he just isn't a left winger. And then he got himself injured, and we just hadn't seen him in that number 10 role yet. And only towards the last couple of games of the season did we start to see that. And not only, which I was quite surprised with, and I know I did say that he is known as a central midfielder or as a number 10, I always did just put him in that hole of being a number 10 and a number 10 only. But we've seen it, particularly in the playoff final, when Dhannoo come off, he sat in the middle alongside Jobe, and we started to see that tenacious side of Enzo, which we already knew he had anyway, but he really come out in abundance, that ferocity, that passion, and hope that wasn't just because he wanted to get the contract and now it's going to go downhill, of course not. But it was really nice to see, because I always just look at him as this sort of tricky player. He likes to try and slip balls in behind, and you're always trying to find the assist and trying to make something happen. So to see that sort of aggressive, tenacious side, it was a breath of fresh air, and it was lovely to see. And we saw in the interviews leading up to the playoff final, Enzo was saying that his heart lies with Sunderland. He loves playing for Sunderland, so the playoff final is the biggest game in his career, because that, of course, guarantees him a place in the Sunderland team in the Premier League, and that's what he wanted. So it was good to see that passion. It's good to see that he has sort of understood the ethics and the morals of the club and the way that it works, the culture of the club. And we talk about it a lot, players, if they get it or not. And he just seems to have got it straight away. He understands what we're about, and he's just a class above as well. And I'm hoping that'll be a signal to other players out there who are thinking about, or on the fence about maybe thinking about joining Sunderland. And it just shows the ambition. Again, I say that it was already in place, obviously, but it's just such a step above the signings we brought previously, and this is the level we need to go for now if we want to remain in the Premier League the following season. If we want to stay in the Premier League, this is the standard now. We can't be, of course, you get the occasional one here and there, but if we just start scraping the barrels of the best players of League One, or a few decent players from the Championship, which of course you can find some gems in there, but if that's kind of our standard there, we're going to go straight back down. We need another 5, 6 Enzo Le Fées in different positions. Do you know what I mean? Of course, with different attributes, but you know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely buzzing with that. Great to see Enzo Le Fée finally making himself an official Sunderland player. Now, I will jump onto the retain list very briefly, just because Enzo Le Fée kind of went into the same barrel as me when I was thinking about loan players. Chris Mepham, of course. You have Samed as well. Both Chris Mepham and Samed have returned to their clubs. It doesn't say we're going to make any offers or contract offers to them. Mepham is someone who I would like to see absolutely return to the stage of my life. Will it happen? That remains to be seen. Are we going to just go a step above now? Which is something I'm going to get into as well. Samed, he didn't really do anything, did he? He seemed like a good lad behind the scenes. He was always having a laugh with the players, which I like to see, but he didn't really do it for me. Every now and then you see a little bit of his quality, but he was injured for 80% of his tenure at Sunderland, and then he goes with my well wishes. He seemed like a nice bloke, but that's as far as it went for me. So I'm quite glad that we didn't have a clause in his loan where if we went up we had to sign him, because there was a few rumours of that, but that isn't to be the case. There are a couple of players though that are leaving, because it does say on the retain list basically every first team player is still with us. But in terms of sort of youth team players, Ben Crompton has been released, which I was a little bit surprised with. Of course, we're going to the Premier League now. Admittedly, you do need to up the quality, as I do keep on saying myself, but I did quite like the look of him. Caden Kelly, who looked a really, really bright player, he's been released as well, amongst others. So that was a little bit sad. But again, I think we are just going to start bringing in youth from all over Europe now to stick in there, and also to try out in our first team, because that's what we've been doing. But we are going to move on now to a potential outgoing. Well, we know it is pretty much going to be done, and it is Jobe, of course. Now, Jobe has been linked with pretty much most top flight clubs, or top four for each nation. He's been linked with everyone at the moment. As of recently, it was more Frankfurt, Leipzig, and Borussia Dortmund. Now, Fabrizio Romano, of course, sort of super journalist, if you will, who just seems to know everybody's business. When he speaks, everyone listens, and it is true. Over the last couple of days, he has been saying that Dortmund have had a sort of semi-gentleman's agreement with Sunderland, or at least Jobe has a gentleman's agreement with Sunderland, which I kind of semi-knew anyway. That basically, if X club, Y club, or Z club come in, they'll allow Jobe to talk to them. Now, it seems to me, according to these reports, that Jobe has agreed, I think it's a 4 or 5 year deal at Dortmund, that's in place, and now it is just a case of the transfer fee that has to be agreed. Now, there's been a lot of rumours, loads of different valuations that have been thrown out here. That one journalist was stating that there's a €40 million release clause. Some were saying that it's going to be £25 million with substantial add-ons in the future. Regardless, my thoughts on Jobe going is what I've said for a while now. Of course, it's in an ideal world, it would have been lovely to see Jobe play for Sunderland in the Premier League. But I think I've just already come to the conclusion, and I've already just had it set in my head that he's going. Since January, February, in my head, I've already come to terms with the fact that he was going to go in the summer, regardless of whether we got promoted or not, because that was just what a lot of the rumours that we were hearing, and little things that I knew myself here and there. I've already come to terms with it. I think he's done brilliant for us. He came for $1.5 million, $3 million, whatever it was. He's had a good couple of years. He's improved drastically. He's helped us get to the Premier League. When a club like Borussia Dortmund come calling, I'm not going to knock him for listening or even going. If it was someone who would just say, for example, it was a Burnley or a Leeds, then I'd be a bit pissed off. But for a team like a Borussia Dortmund, long-term contract, he's helped us. It's going to go for what looks to be over 10 times the amount we paid for him. He goes with my blessing, and I wish him all the best, and I hope he has an incredible career, and I'm sure he will. Again, it'll be gutting, but 30 million for Jobe at the minute, that can get reintegrated into the team, re-put into the team. You've got the Tommy Watson deal that's going to get put into the team as well. So there you've got 40 to 50 million just from those two transfers alone. And I think Jobe is now the sort of poster boy of this system that we have at Sunderland, in terms of buying young, and then it doesn't sound great, and of course it's not nice to lose players, but then you can sort of up the ambition with who you sign, because the amount of money you're getting back off them, 1.5 million, 3 million, whatever it was for Jobe, getting 30 plus million back for him, you can buy someone who is 5 times Jobe, or at least what he was when we first brought him in, for 10 million, and then in a few years, whoever's coming in next could be 50, 60 million. Or at least that's the ideal scenario, if that makes sense. But he is the poster boy. If that it does work. It's not nice, but it does work. And I do trust Christian Speakman. Sometimes we might have a transfer window where you think, oh God, who's he? Who's this? Who's that? We said the same thing with Elias Mayenda. We said the same thing with Trey Hume. And now they were some of the best players in the Championship after a good couple of years. But with the Premier League, we do need to find players that are ready and raring to go. Albeit, we're probably going to stick with the same youth sort of view, if that makes sense. And that is the case because we do have a little bit more news in terms of transfer rumours. Now, there has been quite a lot of high-profile journalists speaking about this. So firstly, we have a rumour that we are looking at 15 million rated Monaco centre-back Wilfried Singo. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know loads about this lad. I don't. I kind of was fairly familiar-ish with the name. I think I may have caught him in the Champions League or Europa League or whatever it was before, but I don't know too much about him. I've looked at a few compilations, as you do naturally, when you get linked with a player with that calibre. But he is a beast. He's only 24 years of age. Big lad, quick lad, strong, aggressive, and he just looks to fit the bill of what I love in a defender. If you've watched the channel for years, I love the big brick shithouses, but if they have a bit of pace to add on to that, then all the better. And he just seems to be that perfect fit. Got the experience already in Monaco, and just, you know, Ivory Coast international. Looks like a really, really good player. £15 million is the number that's been touted for that one. And if that is the case, so be it, because that'd be an outstanding signing. Only 24 as well, so it does kind of fit the bill as well. What do you guys think about that one? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, one last transfer rumour was Tommy Doyle from Wolves, central midfielder, of course, for Wolves. I think he played 20-odd games for Wolves last season in the Premier League. Prior to that, I remember actually seeing him. He was on loan at Sheffield United, I believe. And he actually played really well against us. He might have even scored or got an assist, something like that. But he was a decent player. I think he's, 22, 23, something like that. I could be totally wrong there. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, 23 years of age. I think he used to play for Manchester City, or at least he came through the academy at Manchester City. I could be totally wrong there, but that just rings a bell for some reason. Yes, he was. I just had to make sure he was at Manchester City. I remember there was a lot of hype about him quite a few years ago when he was coming up through the ranks at Manchester City. But he's a good all-round player. Is he someone who, if we sign, I'd be like, okay, he's our centre mid for every single game? Maybe not, but I do like him. He does have the all-round game. He does have a little bit of tenacity. He can control the play. His passing ability is very, very good. Just a very tidy player, and he can have a crack at goal every now and then. So it's just a good all-round player. Someone who understands the league, who has experience in the Premier League already, and still again fits the bill as a young-ish player to come. It's just someone who fits that umbrella of what Sunderland are about at the moment, and we probably will be able to give him plenty of game time as well. And it would be a nice, maybe not a direct replacement for Jobe, but it definitely gives us more options in the middle of midfield, which is something we absolutely need anyway. But yeah, I think that is it. Of course, there has been the usual sort of links with Jordan Henderson, which for me, it depends. If the wages are astronomical, which they could be, say if they were at 200k, 150k, it'd be a no from me personally. If he did consider taking a large pay decrease, and then it was maybe a 1-2 year deal, to have someone of that ilk, albeit he might not be able to play 90-minute games, he still has something about him, by the way, but for someone who has that mammoth amount of experience, Premier League winner, Champions League winner, he's captain England for so long, and he knows the club inside out, and he supports Sunderland, people who are looking down the nose at that potential transfer are ridiculous. Again, if looking down at it is the thought process of Jordan Henderson will be starting week in, week out, then I kind of understand that, because I don't think he does necessarily have the legs, but someone who to come on maybe even just have an hour, or come on for the last 30 minutes to shore up the things in the midfield. And the amount of, I think he's still one of the most underrated players of all time for me, Jordan Henderson, not just because I'm a Sunderland fan, but because even though when he was playing well at Liverpool, he was still getting knocked, still getting looked down upon. But, you know, when you hear podcasts of players over the last sort of decade, the amount of praise he gets from opposition players, and they say that he is literally a manager on the pitch, and everyone listens to him, and it's terrifying as an opposition player to hear it. And again, I know that's not giving him his footballing ability too much credit, but that trait is just undeniable to be that kind of leader. But yeah, so of course, if it was on the table, I would say yes, but either way, I'm rambling here, guys. There's probably going to be more transfer rumours in the next few days, but that is everything as of right now. Let me know down below what you think about everything I have covered in this video. But if you've enjoyed, hit the like button for me, subscribe if you're new. It's exciting times. Take care, stay jammy. How are the lads?